Today is an exciting video, a video that I've been waiting for so long. We are talking about the new hardcover options for self-published authors on Kindle Direct Publishing. We're going to be going over a ton of stuff in this video, so I can't wait. We are going to be talking about the different options that you have on KDP for doing hardcover books. We're going to be going through the tutorial of how to go ahead and create your hardcover book on KDP, talking about the upload process, the cover requirements, because they're a little different. We are also going to be comparing KDP's hardcover to IngramSpark's hardcover because I've got a sample of both, not the same book, but you get the idea. And of course we're going to be talking about exactly what does this mean for indie authors, because there's a few kinks in KDP's hardcover which we'll talk about. And lastly, we're going to be talking about, does this mean that my newest book, Meet Me at the Summit, will now be available in hardcover? So if you want to see all of that, be sure to watch this entire video. We're covering everything. I asked you guys on Instagram to submit some questions that you wanted answered in this video, and we're just going to be talking about all of it. So let's jump in. Hello everyone, my name is Mandi Lynn. I'm an author, book cover designer, and the creator of the Book Launch Planner, and today we are just going to be talking about hardcovers. So here we have the hardcover for my newest novel, Meet Me at the Summit. It's a young adult coming-of-age romance, and this hardcover was printed by KDP, and you can tell because it has the notorious not for sale design on the cover, which is ugly. And then, for sake of comparing down the line later, we also have a hardcover that was created by a different print-on-demand company, IngramSpark, and the biggest difference you can see is that IngramSpark allows you to have a dust jacket. But we'll get into the comparison later on in this video. First things first, I wanted to talk about the options because they're a little different from the options that you may get from IngramSpark, who just has been doing hardcovers for a lot longer. So what are your options when you print a hardcover through Kindle Direct Publishing? The first thing you may notice is that your sizing, you are a little bit more limited. They only have limited sizing for the hardcovers as of right now. So that's the biggest thing I should say, is that the hardcovers for KDP are still in the beta testing, so not even everyone has the option to create a hardcover book. In fact, I have two friends who got the option to create a hardcover book weeks before I did, so I had to wait very impatiently for it to become an option for me. So this means they're still in the testing phase, and who knows, maybe down the line we'll get more hardcover options for our books. For right now, the size options are 5.5 by 8.5, 6 by 9, 6.14 by 9.21, 7 by 10, and 8.25 by 11, which frankly, all the sizes after 6 by 9 seem like really obscure large sizes to me, but I think they did that because also, when you're printing, their hardcovers are limited to 550 pages. So if you have a thick book that is normally 600 plus pages, the only way to fit your book into printing a hardcover would be to make it physically larger rather than thicker. The other option you have is matte or glossy. I personally, as you can see, all my books are matte. I don't enjoy the glossy versions of books. I don't know if it's because I film and I have filming lights. So if I had glossy covers, they'd be reflecting all over the place right now because I have a filming light on. But I just prefer the feel and look of matte covers, but just know that you do have the option of matte or glossy. The biggest downside to KDP right now, because like I said, who knows, maybe it'll change, is that there's no dust jacket. So this right here, which is on my book She's Not Here, which is a psychological thriller, and this hardcover again is printed through IngramSpark. This is what it looks like when it's all, you know, taken off the book. Now most people, when they read a book, they take the dust jacket off anyways because they don't want to damage it, and they'll read the book like this. Now this right here is called the case laminate. So for a long time, IngramSpark didn't even let you print on your case laminate. I grabbed another one of my books so I could show you guys, but previously, IngramSpark, like I said, they didn't print case laminates on their books. So when you took the dust jacket off, you could choose either like gray or dark blue, I think, and I always just chose gray. And then on the spine, you had printed the title and the author name, and it was always in this gold foil. And you couldn't really choose anything. You couldn't choose the font. You couldn't choose how it was aligned. This was just how it was. And that's how IngramSpark printed their hardcover books for the longest time. It wasn't until I think last year that they started doing the case laminate design, and it was very confusing at first because like I said, this hardcover is cloth underneath. So when they first made the change to paper, everyone, myself included, was upset because it felt like a downgrade, but then everyone, myself included, realized that this meant you could customize the design underneath. Now, for She's Not Here, I just did a very subtle design where it's a little bit like the cover, where you see broken glass and little sparks of like fire, but that's it, because I wanted the dust jacket to be the prettiest part. So let me ask you guys, do you prefer a hardcover to have a dust jacket? Now, like I said, I think most people do prefer to take the dust jacket off when they're reading, but to me, it feels like my book is naked to have it like not have a dust jacket at all and to have the cover art printed directly on it. Like, I feel like the best part of hardcovers now is that you can have the dust jacket, and when it comes off, you have another design underneath, and I think that's just such a fun feature. And to be like just having the cover, it seems weird to me. But that's just me. Let me know what you guys think by commenting down below. Okay, so let's jump into the tutorial real quick and talk about the uploading process. It's actually really simple. Again, you won't be able to do it until you have access to the beta version of the hardcovers. And you'll know when you do, because when you log in, all of a sudden you'll see hardcover as an option with a little like beta flag on it. So just like any other time you want to create a book on KDP, you just go ahead and click the like add book to shelf and you start adding in all the info. Now for me, I had already published Meet Me at the Summit, so I just went into my paperback and I basically copy and pasted everything from the title to the subtitle to my name to the keywords to the description. When you get to the ISBN portion, it's important to know the difference between a free and paid ISBN. Now it does get a little bit complicated, but do know that if you do a free ISBN, that ISBN can only be used for Amazon KDP. That means, say you publish your hardcover through Amazon and you get it and you decide, you know what, I really wish it had a dust jacket. And then you're like, let me go through the process on IngramSpark and order a book through there. You can't use that free ISBN on IngramSpark or any other book like publishing website. You can only use that ISBN on Amazon. I personally do all purchased ISBNs that I own. I use myidentifiers.com to create my ISBNs, and that's because all my books are published under my business, Stone Ridge Books, and I just do that for tax reasons and many other complicated reasons that is too much to talk about today. Now, the most complicated part of creating a hardcover on KDP has to be the hardcover wrap. Now, for an IngramSpark wrap, this is what it looks like, and then when you send it to print, it has a little bit of extra bleed around all corners. That way, when it cuts, the design goes all the way to the corner and important stuff doesn't get cut off. Now, same happens here where we have bleed around all the corners. However, it's a little more complicated than that because you're not just cutting it off here, it's being folded over the edge, and so you need a bigger bleed section and a bigger safe section, because anytime you design something that goes all the way to the edge, you need a bleed and you need a safe zone. The bleed is just, you know, in case things are cut a little bit off, and same with the safe zone. The safe zone you can see, but you don't want anything important on the edges of your safe zone because it might be too close to the edge, blah, blah, blah. Now, I had some issues because when I went to go create my hardcover, I could not, for the life of me, find the hardcover cover template for KDP. Now, as a graphic designer and as specifically a book cover designer, every single print-on-demand company uses different templates to print their books because different places have different like page thickness and all of that. So you have to get their specific cover template. And when I looked it up for KDP, I could not find it. So foolishly, I was like, well, maybe it's because the paperback template will work for the hardcover. And I uploaded it, and it did not work. So I did some digging, and I can't remember how I found it, but I eventually found the new page that you fill out to get the proper template for your hardcover book on KDP. Now, I will say the new like template page is slightly confusing, specifically one spot, and I'll tell you about it here. So when you're filling out the template, you'll have to put in all your different information about your book, like the binding type, whether it's hardcover or paperback, the interior type, whether the inside of your book is going to be black and white or if it's going to be full color, like if you're doing a children's book or a photography book, and then your paper type, whether you want it to be white paper or cream paper. Most common for fiction is cream paper, but it's really up to personal preference. And then here's where it got confusing for me, was page turn direction, and I don't know why I overthought this so much, but I think I got confused because when you're turning a book, you're like, you take the right page and you turn it to the left. Yeah, I don't know, but a standard book is left to right. Just know that when you're selecting your template or they'll give you the wrong one. And then you select your measurements of units, and then you select your interior trim size. Now this is important. Your interior trim size is not the same as the actual size of the cover. Because if you notice, we actually have some cover overlap. So on a paperback, the cover is the exact size of the interior, but on a hardcover there's a little bit of overlap of the cover, so the interior of the book is going to be a slightly smaller size than the entire cover of the book itself. So that's why it specifies interior trim size, because when you select the interior trim size, they'll give you the appropriate cover size. And lastly, page count. Do note KDP rounds up to the highest 10. So I like to keep this in mind because sometimes I have clients that have like 304 pages. And if you put 304 into the template generator, they'll give you a template that's for 310 pages. But if you ask me, it would be smarter to round down to 300 pages. For whatever reason, KDP always rounds up. I don't know why they do that, but that's why I keep that in mind. And that is also why sometimes KDP, their spine will be a little bit off because KDP rounds to the nearest 10 pages, whereas IngramSpark rounds to the nearest 2 pages, so their spines on the books tend to be a little bit more accurate. So going back to the cover design process, once you input all that information, you'll be able to download that template. Then you want to take that template, open it up in Photoshop, and basically put your cover in there and try to make up for the spaces at the edge. Now, good news for me, when I first drew this illustration, I drew it much bigger, so I didn't have too much of an issue of extending the design off to all the corners. But if you aren't familiar in the graphic design world, you may want to hire a cover design artist to do that for you to make it as seamless as possible. So once you finish your cover design, you gotta export it as a PDF and upload it to KDP. Now, before you can order a proof copy, you have to view a virtual proof, but the process to view the virtual proof right now is a very long process. The files themselves upload pretty quickly, but then when you hit the like launch virtual preview, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it took 2 hours for my hardcover virtual preview to load. So luckily I have 2 screens, so I was able to like work on one screen while doing something else on another screen, or I even walked away. But basically, it took somewhere around 2 hours to virtually view my hardcover book and to make sure that I had done the hardcover wrap correctly. And then once I saw that was all good, I went ahead and I ordered it. I was able to request this lovely proof copy that I now have here, and the good news is you don't have to publish it until you hit that publish button at the end. I obviously did not hit that publish button yet. Now, it took about 2 weeks for my book to come in, but I did order 2-day shipping, so even though it still took about 2 weeks for it to be printed, it arrived to me very quickly because I'm an impatient person and I asked for the fast shipping. First things first, I don't know how quite to like put this, but the coloring seems the tiniest bit duller. I don't really have any other words besides that. I do know my paperback copy is from IngramSpark. I don't actually have a paperback copy of my book from KDP yet. I don't have reason to order more copies of my book. So it might just be KDP prints slightly duller than IngramSpark does, which is highly possible. But I did want to just note that the coloring was the tiniest bit more dull. The biggest thing is that when the case laminate is damaged, which it is bound to do in these corners here on the spine, you can really see it. I think that's going to happen no matter what. But I will say, like, for IngramSpark, their spine edges are pristine. Like, this is a darker color, so it's going to be harder to see any damage. But this spine is perfect. Whereas this spine is like it looks like someone dropped it and that it got squished. Like, it's just not as clean as it should be. And even I did want to note this because I did a quick unboxing of this on my Instagram page as an Instagram reel, which you are welcome to go watch that on my Instagram. But someone commented saying that their hardcover book they got from IngramSpark looked awful, that it was very damaged. The box they got it in was not damaged, but the book itself was damaged. So it was damaged not during the shipping process, but like before it was even shipped, which is unfortunate to say, but I wanted to mention it because I don't know if this is going to be an issue long term or if this is just because they're in the beta phase, but it's worth mentioning. Otherwise, the only other thing I wanted to say is that KDP likes to bind their spines with this little like cloth, whereas IngramSpark just uses glue. Now, both use glue, but KDP glues their pages to first cloth and then the cover, whereas IngramSpark just glues it straight to the cover. That's a personal preference. I personally think that little cloth bit is very nice and very professional looking. So just off of that, I like KDP slightly more, but quality-wise, I do think IngramSpark's is still slightly better just because they don't seem to damage their books in the process. However, I will like to note that I haven't had this problem, but I've heard of many, many authors who, when they order their author copy, they get their book like this. And by this, I mean the dust jacket is just not there. Like, the book should have a dust jacket and they ordered it with a dust jacket, but when it arrives, it has no dust jacket. I haven't heard of any customers having this issue. I've only heard of this being an issue when authors order copies of their own books through IngramSpark, which I find very strange and very annoying, but it's just something that I wanted to mention, and I don't know, it just felt important if we're comparing. And since we're already talking about it, let's talk about whether IngramSpark or KDP is better when it comes to hardcovers. I should put this out there. I don't like IngramSpark. I hate working with them, but I work with them because I don't really have a choice. I don't like them for a lot of reasons. You can view some of my older videos. They'll be linked down below. I go into a lot of detail why I don't like IngramSpark. They're not user-friendly. They have terrible customer service. In fact, they removed their customer service phone number so you can only contact via email now. And like I said, people get books without their dust jackets all the time. They have fees for uploading, which no other print-on-demand company has. And they just have more strict requirements. Granted, they're a more professional platform, so like I get it, but it's annoying. However, I still choose to work with IngramSpark for two large reasons, mostly one reason. The biggest reason that they allow you to do pre-orders. So if you work with KDP, the only way to do pre-orders right now is through ebooks. You can't do pre-orders for your paperbacks or for your hardcovers. However, IngramSpark allows you to do pre-orders for your paperbacks and your hardcovers, which is huge for an author if you choose to do pre-orders. And IngramSpark also has expanded distribution. Now KDP also has expanded distribution. However, IngramSpark has the type of expanded distribution where if a store orders 10 copies of your book and they put it on the shelves and let's say only 6 of those copies sell, they can return the other 4 copies back to the author and get a refund. So it makes it so stores are more eager to order books from indie authors because they have that option to return the book. Now let's talk about price comparisons. So I chose 2 books that are more or less the same page count. If the spines look different, it's because KDP has thicker paper and IngramSpark has thinner paper. So KDP's spines will always be thicker than IngramSpark's if the page counts are the same. So these books have about the same page count, which is why I wanted to use them to compare. So KDP, this book costs $9.45 to produce. IngramSpark, this book costs $10.84 to produce. So KDP has and probably always will be slightly cheaper for printing. However, IngramSpark has a dust jacket, and dust jackets are not free to print, and KDP does not have a dust jacket. So it could be that that cheaper price is just in the fact that there's no dust jacket, but I don't know. There's no way of knowing. And just for full comparison, I took the paperback, and to print the paperback through KDP, it cost me $4.80, and to print the paperback through IngramSpark, it costs $5.45. So there you have it. And let's talk about the time it takes to print a hardcover book. IngramSpark is painfully long to print any book. Like whether you're printing a hardcover or paperback, it takes them forever to print your book. And you can pay more to have them print it faster, but I don't see the point of that because then you lose, you're just losing more money that way. Whereas KDP, their paperbacks print relatively quickly, but again, their hardcovers take quite a while to print right now, but who knows if that will be faster down the line. The biggest pro and con I think that most indie authors have with KDP and IngramSpark when you're comparing. KDP, no fees whatsoever. You could publish a book completely for free through KDP. IngramSpark, not the case. You have to pay, I think it's gonna end up being $50 to upload your cover and your interior of your book. But it doesn't end there because I recommend every single author order a proof copy of their book before they publish their book. So you have to pay $50 to first create the book listing, and then you order the copy, and you have to pay for the book to be printed and shipped, which same for KDP. You're not going to get a book printed and shipped for free. But unfortunately, in order to order a proof copy, you have to approve the virtual proof that you get, and then you can order your proof copy, which is fine. But then if you want to make any changes, you have to pay a fee for every file that you have to update. And you can't, it's just annoying because in order to physically see your book, you have to approve it, and then you approve it and you're like, oh, the spine is slightly off, and oh, I need to fix this on the interior. And now you have to pay $25 each to update the cover and another $25 to update the interior because you approved the proof, but you didn't get to physically see the proof. So I just find that really annoying and really stupid because when you publish through IngramSpark, you're basically guaranteed to have to pay $100 because you pay $50 to create the book listing, and then you pay to get the proof copy, and then you probably have stuff you need to fix, so then you have to pay another $50 to update the files that you didn't want to approve in the first place, but you had to approve in order to get a proof copy. But that's just my rant. So what does this mean for indie authors? Like, what are we gonna do with a hardcover that doesn't have a jacket? Well, you can publish a hardcover book that doesn't have a jacket. They're out there. I have like maybe 1 or 2 books on my shelf that are traditionally published that are hardcover and don't have a jacket. I personally, not a fan of it, but not 100% against it. So it's really up to you. But I will say, having this hardcover option means you could create things like notebooks and journals that are hardcover. You could create a children's book, although the sizes that they have right now are not the sizes you would see for a children's book. So maybe down the line they'll have a hardcover option for an 8x8 book, which is the size that I use for my children's book, which would make me happy because then I would be able to have a hardcover children's book, which I feel like people tend to enjoy more. So there's more possibilities now, and it's super exciting. And like I said, I'm hoping this means that eventually they'll do dust jackets. But really, if it were up to me, I would have been like, hey, KDP, I don't care about hardcovers. I care more about pre-orders. But we'll see if they ever do that. And lastly, does this mean Meet Me at the Summit is available in hardcover now? No. So, I personally am not a fan of this. I love that KDP is exploring options, and I love that other authors will hopefully do this, but for me and my book, not a fan. I don't like this look, and I think it's mostly just because I already have hardcovers published and that are out that have jackets and that they're beautiful and I love them. So it just feels weird to have a hardcover that doesn't have a jacket now. And I do plan on having a hardcover for Meet Me at the Summit eventually, but I'm probably going to wait a bit, maybe for like a 1-year anniversary or once the second book in the series is out. That way I can put like the first chapter or 2 of the second book at the end of the hardcover. So my answer is yes, there will be a hardcover. No, not yet, and I don't know if it will be through KDP or through IngramSpark, so we'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, that is it for this video. It was long, it was intense, we talked about a lot. Let me know what you think about KDP's hardcover editions. I would love to hear about it. If you've read Meet Me at the Summit, please go ahead and write a review on Amazon. It's a great way to show support to me as the author. And if you haven't read it yet, what the heck are you doing? This is a great book, I hear. That is it for this week, guys. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe.